if anything, Greece is more investable now than it was 5 months ago. Again, if we assume that this is going to be an intense but brief recession, all the fundamental reasons why one would invest in Greece are still very much present. I got elected 10 months ago, as you know, on a platform of change, focusing very much on attracting private investment, domestic and foreign, and making Greece a country which leverages its comparative advantages and makes it easy for international investors to invest. And we've moved a lot in that direction. We've lowered taxes, we've improved the regulatory environment, we've made public administration, as you know, much more digital, which many people thought could not happen. And now we have an additional advantage that we're perceived as a safe country with a well-functioning public administration. I was always believed, I'm a liberal politician. I'm not a neoliberal politician. I don't believe the markets always get it right, and I think there's always a role for the state to play, especially in times of crisis. And this is exactly what we did. We did step in to deal with an unprecedented crisis, to support the public healthcare system. We never had issues in Greece. Everyone has access to our public healthcare system, regardless of income. So there were no built-in inequalities in our system, like you may see in other countries. And of course, there are times when the government needs to spend to get out of a deep recession. So this is a time for a more Keynesian approach. This doesn't mean that I still don't believe that the engine of growth is always the private economy. And my preoccupation is to make sure I save jobs and let businesses breathe in order for them to grow again in the future. And I think the real challenge always in these cases is burden sharing. What is a fair burden sharing? I'm concerned that the necessary bending of competition rules by giving big exemptions in terms of state aid could very much help big companies getting even bigger at the expense of small companies. So right now the state aid that is offered by some countries is just humongous. And some other countries cannot compete with that. So their companies at least cannot compete. So the only way to counterbalance that is to have some sort of real transfer in the form of grants. Otherwise, what you will see, if that doesn't happen, is regional or differences, geographic differences, getting bigger and not smaller. That is why we insist so much that it is important that the European Union borrows as an entity. The Commission is probably going to do that, and then uses its collective firepower to support those countries that have been more hit. Well, it really depends if Europe steps up to the plate. Again, the Franco-German proposal was bold, and certainly a big step in the right direction. 500 billion in grants is a significant sum, financed through a common debt instrument issued by the Commission. That's important. It's an important step in the right direction. But if you just look at the amount of money that has been poured into some of the big European companies, either in the form of direct cash injections or guarantees, it's impossible for smaller countries and their companies to compete with this sort of level. And this will inevitably distort competition. So the only way to counterbalance that is to be generous on the fiscal side. That this crisis was also a catalyst for re-establishing a new sense of trust between the state and the Greek citizens. There was always a lot of skepticism when it came to this relationship in the past. People in Greece didn't really trust the state to perform basic functions. And now for the first time they saw a state that actually delivered and probably did better than other better organized countries. Again, there were a lot of stereotypes about Greece that we've proven to be wrong, that we're too selfish, that we cannot cooperate, that the state is completely inefficient.